Yo, what's good? Big Z here, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make better drum fills. And I don't know why, but it took me years to figure out what I was doing wrong with my drum fills. It took me forever to figure this out. I don't know why no one told me, but maybe some of you guys know this trick already. But anyway, I'm going to show you guys how to have the most control over your drum fills possible. So what I used to do for my fills is just drag a sample in, like this trap snare right here. And then I would just manually copy the note around until I had the fill I wanted, like this. So I'd copy the sample like that, and if I wanted to do some pitch automation, I'd do it with a third-party plugin, like Waves Pitch Shifter or Sound Shifter Pitch. Then I'd go into the automation settings and automate the pitch. So that sounds okay, but you can hear when the pitch gets lower, the sample's kind of bugging out a little bit. And that just sounds so flat and static. All the drum samples have the same velocity and everything. So there's a way better way to do this, and the way to do it is by sampling. So what I'm going to do is take this drum sample and put it in Logic Sampler. I'm going to set up the sampler so it's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in mono. I'm going to make sure the range is spread out all the way and that the pitch is centered. So now I can play it on my keyboard. And two parameters to pay attention to within your sampler are the pitch bend range, which in this case I'm going to go down to 12 semitones. And you also want to pay attention to this level meter. And what this level meter allows you to do is mess around with the MIDI velocity to make it sound like the drum sample is being played at different volumes. So I'll show you guys what I mean. So now instead of just dragging and dropping the sample, I'm going to have full control over it in this MIDI region. So I'm going to go ahead and create a note. And I'm going to make sure my velocity tool is checked, so that way I can just do the quick shortcut to change velocity. And I'm going to draw out a similar fill to the one I had before. So right now it just sounds the exact same as the other one, but the great thing about having this in MIDI form is that now I can mess around with the velocity. So now it's starting to sound a little more human, but there's a lot more we can do. So one great thing about having it in the sampler is that the pitch shifting sounds way better. So I'm going to go into my pitch bend section here, and I'm going to make the fill go down an octave just like I had the other fill doing. That pitch shifting just sounds way cleaner in the sampler than it would with any third-party plugin. Another thing I can do is add ghost notes, which are super quiet notes, in between the other notes I already have in this fill to finish it off. So what I'm going to do is create a little roll-up to the first note. I'm going to make these increase in velocity to this note right here. So now we get this effect. So that's a cool way to introduce a fill. I'm going to add a couple more ghost notes here. I'm just going to make sure they're really quiet in the mix so you can barely hear them. It just adds some rhythm. So now with all that, it sounds like this. Another way you can further control your drum fills is to use a Transient Designer. So I'll just use Logic's native one, the enveloper. So in the Transient Designer, I can do a few different things. I can mess with the release of the note. And another cool thing you can do is automate the release. So I'm going to keep this at 0 for now. I'm going to go into my automation settings. I'm going to go into the release gain. And as this fill goes on, I'm going to want the release of the Transient Designer to get longer and longer. So that's a cool trick to make your fills more interesting. Another thing you can do is, because it's in MIDI and you don't have to drag notes and samples along the grid, you can mess around with the swing amount. So I'm going to take these notes and mess with the swing. So now, instead of just a straightforward on 16th notes, it's a little off the grid. So it just gives a little more groove and swing to your fill. Alright, so hopefully this video was helpful to some of you. I know it took me forever to figure out that I was supposed to be making fills in a sampler and not just on the grid in the arrangement window. But anyway, hopefully this helped. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Spotify below. And other than that, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.